meteorologist Chase Jones.
Well, it was another toasty winter day, and we're sort of seeing that heat linger around with that southerly flow, but the winds are going to turn out of the north, I promise, and with it, some of that cold air is going to make its way in. As soon as those northerly winds pick up, we're going to push down near those freezing points, so we're on the cool down, but we're going to rally right back up into those 70s. We got all the way down into those mid-40s last night, warmed up 30 degrees into those mid-70s. You can see how gradual we're cooling off right now, leveling out in those lower 60s. We're going to drop back down into those upper 40s before we only warm up a little bit. 62 in San Angelo, everybody else in a combination of lower 60s, upper 50s, lower 50s, looking at some of that blue slide its way in towards the northern part. But right now, 61 in Sterling City, 63 down there in Junction, 67 in Coleman, 57 down there in Sonora, looking like 13 degrees across the entire Concho Valley, way outside of that 10-degree spread. But of course, we're keeping our eye on some of that low fog we're seeing right now. We talked about yesterday sort of that cloud condensation level and everything else. Lets us know that those clouds are going to slowly work their way up, and we have our eye out for some of those misty conditions. When I talk about it, we're really just sort of looking at the moisture in the atmosphere. Dew points are down there in those 50s and those 60s, so we could see some of those wetter conditions, while the humidity indices have pushed up into those 80s and those 90s, reaching that atmospheric tipping point, making their way up from those 50s from earlier this afternoon. Of course, we're looking at the upper level pattern and the moisture tracker. That's where we're seeing some of that southerly flow. Keep the moisture around the Concho Valley. That's where we're going to see some of that moisture and that misty conditions. But by tomorrow morning, cold front's going to make its way through, push us into those freezing points, and then by Thursday, right back up into those 70s, and then we close in on Christmas, still holding on to those warmer temperatures. Now the upper level pattern is going to show you the long wave trough making its way out. There's our cold front right behind it. There's going to be our ridging, but we sort of have our eye on the weekend and closing in on Christmas, looking like some of those storms are going to hold off more towards the north. The atmosphere is definitely on the recharge, winding up for the next big cold drop, but I don't think we're going to see one anytime soon, at least for about a week. When we look at the water vapor imagery, still keeping our eye on that slow-moving cold front. It gives us a good idea of how strong the southerly winds are opposing those northerly winds as it slows down, as it drops lower in elevation down from the Sierra Madres, and then right behind it, we have our eye on the next warming trend somewhere near the Four Corners. Severe weather outlook really just still targeting parts of the northeastern Concho Valley early this afternoon down towards the southeast, but it still targets along Tornado Alley into Arkansas and then parts of Kentucky. When we take you down to the surface, there's the cold front shaping up somewhere inside those shades of green, so we see the cloud convection, and then right behind it you see how the clouds are dissipating. That's where the cold air is starting to suppress or eliminate those clouds, so we know that the cold air is definitely on its way. Now the Futurecast is going to give you a better idea of where the cloud cover is going to move in. You sort of see where those winds oppose each other. That's where we have our eye out for some of that early morning light shower activity. Then sort of things move out of the way, and then those winds will pick up. Things will warm back up by sort of Thursday morning, but those clear skies are going to allow us to get down to those freezing points tomorrow afternoon. I'm talking a lot about those winds, so we'll get a better idea or a closer look at them. You'll see that cold front make its way in by tomorrow morning. Winds will stay out of the south about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Could see some gustier conditions. Then as Wednesday evening rolls around, as we get near those freezing points, things will be on the warm up as those winds get ready to turn out of the south again. So tonight down into those upper 40s, only a couple more degrees to go. Then we're on the lookout for the winds and that light rain shower activity. Then tomorrow it's definitely going to be a cold one, only up into the 60s, then right back down into those freezing points. But then we immediately warm right back up into those 70s, and then take a good look. We dry out, but we stay pretty warm as we make our way closer towards Christmas. Got a week to go. We still hold on to those mid-70s while those overnight lows push up into those 50s. Stay tuned, up at the break. But first, take a quick look at the stock market.
This portion of the news is sponsored by the Peacock Group, powered by Ameriprise Financial.